Right now, Iran is at a breaking point. What began in late December as a severe economic crisis, with prices rising fast and the currency collapsing, has turned into widespread protests across many cities in the country. Security forces have been deployed nationwide. Thousands of people have been arrested. Human rights groups report large numbers of deaths. At the same time, authorities have imposed major internet restrictions. But this is not just an internal Iranian issue. Iran plays a key role in the Middle East, global energy supply, and international politics. What happens there affects oil prices, regional stability, and relations between Iran and the United States. The stakes are higher than they appear. What is happening in Iran right now? What began as an economic shock in late December quickly turned into widespread unrest across the country. When the rial hit a record low of 1.5 million to the US dollar, prices surged and daily life became unaffordable for many people. In Tehran's Grand Bazaar, shopkeepers, long seen as a backbone of the system, began closing their businesses as a form of economic self-defense. Within days, protests spread far beyond the capital, reaching cities across much of Iran. What makes this moment different is who is taking part. It is not only students or political activists. Oil workers in the south, small business owners in major cities, and working-class families in areas once considered loyal to the government have also joined the unrest. From university campuses to industrial centers, the message has changed. When pressure builds at both the country's commercial heart, the bazaar, and its economic engine, the oil sector, it signals a level of instability that even a strong security apparatus struggles to contain. Why are people protesting in Iran? By the end of 2025, Iran's economy did not simply weaken. It entered a crisis phase. When the Iranian rial hit a record low of 1.5 million to the US dollar, prices exploded overnight. Food, fuel, medicine, and basic necessities became unaffordable for millions. This collapse was not accidental. In late 2025, UN snapback sanctions were reimposed, freezing what remained of Iran's external financial access. At the same time, Tehran lost one of its most important channels for bypassing oil sanctions when its external support network collapsed. For the first time, Iran's shadow oil trade faced serious disruption. The state's ability to fund imports, subsidies, and internal stability began to evaporate. The broken social contract. For decades, the Iranian system operated on a simple bargain: restricted political freedom in exchange for economic stability and basic security. That bargain no longer exists. Food inflation surged. Living costs rose sharply. Security spending expanded dramatically, while wages lagged far behind. Ordinary Iranians watched their purchasing power collapse while state priorities shifted toward control rather than relief. This is why today's protests are different. They are not limited to students or activists. They include shopkeepers, industrial workers, oil region laborers, and working-class families, including in areas once considered loyal to the system. The trust that held the system together has fractured. The foreign policy backlash. At the same time, public anger has turned outward, toward Iran's regional strategy. Iranians are watching billions spent on foreign conflicts while water systems fail, electricity cuts increase, and infrastructure at home deteriorates. That frustration has condensed into a single chant heard from Tehran to the oil fields of Khuzestan: neither Gaza nor Lebanon, my life for Iran. This slogan is not just emotional, it is political. It signals rejection of a foreign policy that many now believe has bankrupted the nation while delivering no security or prosperity in return. What this means? It is about economic collapse, broken trust, and a growing belief that the system no longer serves its own people. And when pressure builds simultaneously in the bazaar, the oil sector, and working-class households, it signals a level of internal strain that even a powerful security apparatus struggles to contain. What are the protesters demanding? What makes the current unrest fundamentally different from the 2022 Woman Life Freedom movement is the nature of the demands. In 2022, the struggle focused on social reform within the system. Today, the anger has shifted toward rejecting the system itself. It signals that a growing segment of the population is no longer seeking gradual reform or compromise. Instead, they are openly questioning the legitimacy of the Islamic Republic itself and imagining alternatives once considered politically unthinkable. Still, this movement is not uniform. It is a coalition of different grievances, brought together by a shared conclusion. Bazaar merchants want currency stability, economic access, and an end to international isolation. Young Iranians want unrestricted internet access, an end to digital shutdowns, and full personal freedoms. Ethnic minorities in regions such as Kurdistan and Sistan-Baluchistan are demanding an end to long-standing economic neglect and political marginalization. What unites these groups is not ideology, it is exhaustion. There is a growing belief that the current system cannot be repaired from within. Protesters are no longer waiting for reforms, negotiations, or new promises. They are waiting for a breaking point, one that forces fundamental change. How is the Iranian government responding? Response has been severe and escalating. Security forces have been deployed nationwide. Arrests have surged. But the most telling response has not been on the streets. It has been in the digital space. In late December, authorities imposed severe nationwide internet and telecommunications restrictions, what analysts often describe as a digital kill switch. The goal is simple: slow coordination inside the country and limit what the outside world can see. But the crackdown is not only digital. Reports indicate the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps and the Basij militia have been given expanded authority to suppress unrest, including the use of live ammunition in multiple locations. At the same time, the government has taken the unusual step of deploying elements of the Artesh, Iran's conventional army, to protect strategic sites. This matters. The Artesh is traditionally kept away from internal unrest. Its involvement signals that existing security forces are being stretched and that the leadership is prioritizing control of infrastructure over crowd management. Officially, Tehran describes the unrest as a foreign-backed conspiracy, blaming the United States and Israel. This narrative is being used to justify mass arrests and emergency measures, with thousands reportedly detained in recent days. And the scale of the state's response reveals fear, not confidence. Why did Iran shut down the internet? On January 8th at 8 o'clock p.m. local time, the Iranian government took an extraordinary step. It effectively cut tens of millions of people off from the global digital world. This was not about stopping protesters from posting online. It was a calculated state tactic known as digital darkness. And it serves three clear purposes. First, breaking coordination. Without WhatsApp or Telegram, protest groups are isolated, communication collapses. That makes it far easier for security forces to target and suppress demonstrations one by one. Second, creating a verification vacuum. As arrests surge and violence escalates, shutting down the internet prevents real-time images and videos from reaching the outside world. No footage, no witnesses, no immediate international scrutiny. Third, narrative control through whitelisting. While ordinary people cannot contact family members, state media and government platforms remain online. Official servers are whitelisted, allowing the regime to speak while the population is silenced. But 2026 has introduced a new variable. Despite heavy GPS jamming in Tehran and Isfahan, satellite systems are still leaking information out. Footage is escaping, not through cables or towers, but through space. The regime is no longer fighting only protesters on the streets. It is fighting an information war against the sky itself. Why this matters globally? Iran's internal crisis is no longer just a domestic issue. It sits at the intersection of US influence, Chinese economic strategy, Russian opportunism, Middle Eastern security, global energy markets, and the future of dollar-based sanctions power. The central question is no longer whether foreign powers are pulling the strings. It is how far they are willing to go, and whether Iran's crisis becomes internally resolved, externally escalated, or geopolitically reshaped. What does this mean for the Middle East? Iran is not isolated. It plays a central role in regional security, energy markets, diplomatic alignments, prolonged instability effects, oil prices, regional tensions, strategic calculations by neighbors. Why this story matters. What is happening in Iran is not just about one country. It reflects a global pattern: economic pressure, youth frustration, trust erosion, systems under strain. This is not a moment of sudden collapse. It is a stress test. And how Iran navigates it will shape its future and influence the region for years to come. This is not the end of the story. It is the chapter the world is now watching. Thank you for watching. Beyond identities, beyond borders, beyond divisions, our destiny is one. You are watching Next Horizon Global.